There is a war inside you that never makes noise. No one says it. No one applauds it. But every victory and every loss in this war is being written into your eternity. You have been fighting the world, fighting people, fighting circumstances, not realizing the real battle has been happening in the quiet moments when no one is watching. The moment you delay what you know is right, the moment you excuse what you know is pulling you away, the moment a familiar voice inside you says, "Just this once." This is not a message to make you feel small. This is a reminder that your soul is still strong enough to fight back. Because if you can hear this right now, it means the battle is not over, and neither is your path to Jannah, the voice that will either carry you to Jannah or bury you in yourself. Let me stay with you a little longer in this quiet space, because this lesson is not meant to be rushed. It is meant to be felt. There is a part of you that the world never meets, the part that does not wear a smile for people, the part that does not explain itself, the part that only comes alive when you are finally alone with your thoughts, when the noise of the day fades, when the phone goes silent, when the room becomes still. That is where this voice lives. It does not announce itself. It does not knock on the door of your heart. It is already inside. It speaks in a tone that feels familiar, gentle, reasonable. It does not say, "Do something wrong." It says, "You're tired." It does not say, "Leave what is right." It says, "Just rest for now." It does not say, "Disobey." It says, "This one time won't change who you are." And because it sounds like you trust it. You think this voice is just your personality, your mood, your human weakness. But my dear one, this is the place where the silent war begins. Not with a dramatic fall, not with a big mistake, but with a quiet agreement. An agreement to delay what you know you should do. An agreement to excuse what you know you should leave. An agreement to silence the part of your heart that feels uncomfortable for a reason. At first it feels harmless. You tell yourself you will come back to Allah later. You will fix this habit later. You will change this part of your life when things become easier. And the voice inside you nods along. It says, "Of course, there is time, but time is not just passing. It is shaping you." Every day you listen to this voice, it becomes a little stronger. Every day you ignore it, the other voice, the one that calls you back to Allah, becomes a little quieter. Not because it leaves, but because it is being covered by comfort, by distraction, by excuses. And here is something most people do not realize until they look back. You do not wake up one day far from Allah. You drift. You drift in small steps. You drift in small choices. You drift in small moments that feel too insignificant to matter. A prayer delayed becomes a prayer rushed. A prayer rushed becomes a prayer forgotten. A reminder ignored becomes a reminder avoided. And slowly, without noticing, the heart that used to feel soft becomes a little heavier. This is not meant to scare you. It is meant to wake you. Because the same process works in the opposite direction too. Every time you choose what is right when it is hard, something inside you becomes lighter. Every time you turn back to Allah after slipping, something inside you becomes cleaner. Every time you question that familiar voice, instead of obeying it, you take a step not away from something, but towards something greater. So tonight, let me ask you something gently. When you feel the urge to delay, what are you delaying? When you feel the urge to hide, what are you hiding? When you feel the urge to excuse, what are you excusing? These questions are not there to shame you. They are there to guide you. Because, my dear one, Allah is not watching you to catch you falling. He is watching you to see if you will return. And every time you turn back, no matter how many steps you took down the slope, you will find that the path upward is still open. So do not be afraid of this voice inside you. Listen to it, but do not follow it blindly. Measure it against the voice that calls you to prayer. Measure it against the feeling you have after you do something sincere. Measure it against the peace you feel when you choose Allah over yourself. Because at the end of the day, it is not the loud moments of your life that decide your direction. It is the quiet ones. And if you are here right now, reading these words, feeling that small stirring in your chest, know this: that is not the voice of destruction. That is the voice of return. And it is still calling you home. The desire you feed, that secretly feeds on you. Let me take you a little deeper into something you feel every day, but may not fully understand. Desire is not loud. It does not arrive with a warning. It does not announce itself as a problem. It comes quietly, dressed as a solution. It comes when you are tired and tells you, this will help you relax. It comes when you are lonely and tells you, this will make you feel less empty. It comes when you are disappointed and tells you, you deserve this after everything you've been through. And because you are human, because your heart gets heavy, because life is not always gentle, you listen. At first, nothing seems wrong. You feel a small relief, a short escape, a moment where the pressure leaves your chest and the noise in your mind becomes softer, and you think, see, this is harmless. This is just how I cope. But my dear one, let me tell you something gently. Relief is not the same as healing. Desire does not heal what is hurting inside you. It only covers it for a moment. And when the moment passes, the hurt returns, often deeper than before. So the desire comes back. And this time, it asks for a little more. More time, more attention, more space in your life. And slowly, without noticing, something shifts. What used to be something you did sometimes becomes something you think about often. What used to be a choice becomes something that feels automatic. What used to feel optional starts to feel necessary. This is how the Nafs feeds. Not by force, by familiarity. You begin to build your day around certain comforts. You begin to protect certain habits. You begin to feel irritated when something stands between you and the thing you need to feel okay. And that is the moment when you should pause. Not in fear, but in honesty. Ask yourself, if this was taken away from me tomorrow, what would break inside me? Because whatever your heart cannot live without has quietly become your master. And this is not only about obvious things. It is not only about actions people call sins. Sometimes it is about attention. Sometimes it is about validation. Sometimes it is about being seen, being praised, being needed. You can feed a desire for people just as much as you can feed a desire for pleasure, and both can slowly pull your heart away from the one who should be at the center. But let me tell you something beautiful. Allah does not ask you to become empty. He asks you to become free. Free from needing things that cannot carry your soul. Free from leaning on habits that cannot give you peace. Free from chasing feelings that fade the moment you are alone again. This is why self-control in Islam is not about becoming hard. It is about becoming light. When you begin to say no to a desire that you know is pulling you away, something surprising happens. At first, it feels uncomfortable. There is a tension in your chest, a restlessness in your body, a feeling like you are missing something. But then, slowly, another feeling enters. Clarity. You begin to notice how much space that desire was taking in your mind. You begin to notice how much energy it was quietly draining. You begin to notice how often it was standing between you and a sincere moment with Allah. And in that space, something else grows. A deeper hunger, not for comfort, but for meaning. So let me ask you something tonight, gently, without pressure. What is the thing you run to when your heart feels heavy? What is the thing you reach for when life feels too quiet? What is the thing you protect when you feel exposed or weak? Do not answer this to anyone else. Answer it to yourself, because the goal is not to hate your desires. The goal is to lead them, to teach your heart that it does not need to be fed by everything it wants, to remind your soul that it was created for something higher than temporary relief. And every time you choose Allah over a desire that calls you away, you are not losing something. You are gaining yourself back, quietly, gently, one honest choice at a time. The moment Allah measures you when the world is not watching. Let me bring you to a place that has no audience, no witnesses, no applause. A place where there are no eyes on you, except the one who always sees. There is a moment in every day that belongs only to you and Allah. Not the moment when you speak about faith. Not the moment when you look good in front of people. Not the moment when others can hear your words or see your actions. But the moment when you are completely alone. This is the moment that reveals who you truly are. Because when the world is watching, we all know how to behave. We know how to say the right things. We know how to avoid the wrong ones. We know how to shape ourselves in a way that fits the image we want others to see. But when the door is closed, when the screen lights up your face in the dark, when no one will ever find out what you choose, something deeper is being tested. This is where sincerity lives. Not in what you show, but in what you protect. You see, public actions build your reputation. Private actions build your relationship with Allah, and the two are not always the same. It is easy to pray when someone is beside you. It is easy to be patient when someone is praising you. It is easy to speak kindly when someone is listening. But who are you when you are tired and irritated, and no one is there to hold you accountable? Who are you when you could walk away from something wrong and no one would stop you? Who are you when you could do something right and no one would ever know? My dear one, these moments are not small. They are heavy because they are pure. There is no reward in them except what comes from Allah. There is no recognition in them except what is written by the angels. There is no comfort in them except the quiet peace that settles in your heart when you know you chose what was right, even when it was unseen. And sometimes, this is the hardest kind of obedience. Not the kind that costs you time, but the kind that costs you temptation. Not the kind that costs you energy, but the kind that costs you a secret desire. You may think no one notices these choices, but Allah does. And He notices them in a way that is different from how people notice big deeds. He notices them because they are not for show. They are not for approval. They are not for a reaction. They are for Him. Let me tell you something gentle. If you want to know how close you are to Allah, look at how you behave when you do not need to impress anyone. Look at what you protect when no one is watching. Look at what you avoid when no one would blame you. Look at what you choose when no one would praise you. This is where your real faith is being shaped. And do not be discouraged if you find weakness here. Weakness does not mean you are lost. It means you are human. What matters is not that you never slip. What matters is what you do after you notice you have slipped. Do you make excuses and move on as if nothing happened? Or do you pause, feel that quiet discomfort in your heart, and turn back to Allah? Because that turning back, even if it is slow, even if it is tired, even if it is whispered instead of spoken, is loved by Him. You see, Allah does not expect perfection. He loves sincerity. He loves the servant who falls and still returns. He loves the heart that hardens and still softens again. He loves the soul that forgets and still remembers. So tonight, in your own quiet space, do not promise yourself that you will become flawless. Promise yourself something simpler, that when you are alone, you will try to be honest. Honest about what pulls you away. Honest about what brings you back. Honest about where you are struggling and where you are growing. Because in that honesty, something beautiful happens. The distance between you and Allah becomes smaller, not because you became stronger, but because you became real. And that is a closeness the world will never see, but your soul will always feel. The strength that only enters after you break your own will. Let me speak to you about a kind of strength the world does not recognize. The world teaches you that strength is loud, that it looks like winning arguments, that it looks like standing above others, that it looks like never bending, never softening, never admitting weakness. But there is another kind of strength that is built in silence. It is not built when life goes your way. It is not built when people agree with you. It is not built when your desires are satisfied. It is built in the moment when you stand in front of yourself and say, "Not this, not now, not in this way." This is one of the hardest moments a human being can face, because it is easier to fight the world than it is to fight your own will. It is easier to say no to people than it is to say no to a feeling inside your chest. It is easier to walk away from a situation than it is to walk away from a desire that feels like it belongs to you. And this is why this strength is rare. Most people spend their lives obeying whatever they feel in the moment. If they feel angry, they speak. If they feel bored, they scroll. If they feel lonely, they reach for something or someone to fill the space. If they feel tired, they let everything else slide. They call this being human. But my dear one, being human is not about following every feeling. It is about choosing which feelings get to lead you. There is a moment that comes, sometimes quietly, sometimes sharply, where you feel the pull to do something you know is not good for your heart. You feel it in your body, you feel it in your thoughts. You feel it in that familiar restlessness that says, "Just do it, and this feeling will go away." This is the moment of training. Not training of the body, training of the soul. When you say no here, even once, something inside you changes. You realize that you are not as powerless as you thought. You realize that your feelings are strong, but they are not your master. And that realization is the beginning of inner authority. At first, this kind of strength feels uncomfortable. It does not feel heroic. It does not feel satisfying. It often feels lonely, because there is no one there to cheer for you. No one sees the battle you just fought. No one knows what you just walked away from. No one understands how hard it was for you to pause instead of react. But Allah knows. And something very subtle happens in the heart of a person who keeps choosing Him in these moments. They begin to feel steady. Life does not shake them the same way. Words do not cut them as deeply. Situations do not pull them apart as easily. Not because they have become cold, but because they have become anchored. They are no longer being carried by every wave of emotion. They have learned how to stand in the water without being swept away. And this strength does not make you harsh. It makes you gentle. Because when you can control yourself, you do not need to control others. When you can calm your own heart, you do not need to prove anything to the world. Let me tell you something beautiful. Every time you break your own will for the sake of Allah, Allah gives you something in return. Not always something you can see, but something you can feel. A quiet confidence, a deep peace, a sense of being held, even when life feels heavy. This is why some people can go through storms and still carry calm in their eyes. It is not because their lives are easier. It is because their hearts are trained. So tonight, when you feel that familiar pull to follow what is easiest instead of what is right, do not rush past it. Pause, sit with it for a moment, and remember that this moment, as small as it feels, is shaping you into someone. Not someone the world will necessarily notice, but someone Allah is quietly building. And in that building, there is a strength being formed that no hardship can take away. A strength that does not shout. A strength that does not show off. A strength that simply stands with Allah. Even when everything inside you wants to run. The invisible deeds that outweigh a lifetime of public worship. Let me draw your attention to something the world almost never teaches you to value. Not the moments when you are seen. Not the moments when you are praised. Not the moments when people speak your name with admiration. But the moments that pass quietly, without witnesses, without applause, without anyone knowing you were there at all. There is a kind of goodness that lives in the shadows of life, a kind of obedience that never makes it into conversations, a kind of sincerity that is never posted, never announced, never displayed. And yet, these are the deeds that weigh the heaviest. You see, it is easy to be good when being good feels rewarding, when people notice, when people thank you, when people say, "You are such a kind person," or "You are so patient," or "You are so religious." But there is a deeper test. Who are you when no one will ever say those words? Who are you when you help and no one finds out? Who are you when you forgive and the other person never apologizes? Who are you when you choose silence instead of winning, even though you could have made yourself look right? These moments feel small in the world, but they are not small in the heavens. The angels do not measure deeds the way people do. They do not measure by how impressive something looks. They measure by how pure it is. A single tear that falls in private because your heart feels close to Allah can weigh more than 100 actions done to be admired. A single act of restraint when you could have taken revenge can be heavier than 1,000 words spoken to sound wise. My dear one, this is why sincerity is such a rare treasure, because it means doing what is right even when there is nothing in it for you. No praise, no recognition, no benefit, no image to protect. Just you and Allah. And this is where the Nafs struggles the most. The Nafs does not only want pleasure, it also wants to be seen as good. It wants to be admired for being patient. It wants to be respected for being generous. It wants to be known for being religious. But when you do something good and no one notices, the Nafs feels empty. And that emptiness is a test. Will you still do it next time? Will you still choose it again, even if it stays unseen? Will you still walk this path when it feels like you are walking it alone? Let me tell you something gentle. Allah sees what people miss. He sees the kindness you showed when you were tired. He sees the patience you held when your heart was burning. He sees the prayer you whispered when your faith felt weak. He sees the temptation you walked away from when no one would have blamed you for taking it. And He does not forget. Sometimes you may look at your life and feel like your efforts disappear into nothing, like your goodness goes unnoticed, like your struggle is invisible. But nothing that is done for Allah is ever lost. It is stored, not in the memory of people, but in the care of the one who never overlooks anything. And one day, when you stand in a place where no image matters, no reputation matters, no one else's opinion matters, you will see these quiet deeds come forward, not as something small, but as something that carries you. So, tonight, let me leave you with something to hold on to. Do not chase being seen. Chase being sincere. Do not worry about how your goodness looks. Worry about who it is for, because in the end, it is not the loudest worship that changes your destination. It is the truest. And every time you choose to do something right in silence, you are placing another light on a path that will one day lead you home, even if no one in this world ever knew you were building it. The day your soul discovers who it truly served all along. Let me bring you to a moment that does not come with noise, but comes with clarity. There is a day in your life when you begin to see your own story differently, not as a collection of random events, not as a series of accidents and circumstances, but as a path that has been quietly forming with every choice you have ever made. And in that moment, a question rises that you cannot ignore anymore. Who have I really been living for? Not who you say you live for, not who you appear to live for, but who your time, your energy, your attention, and your obedience have been given to. Because, my dear one, your true master is not revealed by your words. It is revealed by your habits. Look at what you run to when you are tired. Look at what you protect when you feel threatened. Look at what you chase when you feel empty. These are not just behaviors. They are signs of where your heart has been placing its trust. signs of where your soul has been seeking safety, meaning, and comfort. And sometimes, when you see this clearly for the first time, it can feel uncomfortable, even painful. You may realize that you have been serving your comfort more than your calling, your image more than your sincerity, your desires more than your direction. But let me tell you something gentle. This realization is not a punishment. It is a gift, because you cannot return to Allah until you first see what has been standing in His place. There is something deeply freeing about this moment. You stop pretending, you stop hiding from yourself, you stop making excuses that sound good but feel empty inside. You become honest, and in that honesty, something softens. You begin to understand that Allah has not been watching you with anger, waiting for you to fail. He has been watching you with mercy, waiting for you to turn back. You see, your entire life is not judged by your worst days. It is guided by your direction. Are you moving toward Him, even slowly? Are you returning to Him, even after you fall? Are you choosing Him, even when it costs you something inside? This is what defines who you serve. Let me tell you something beautiful. You do not need a dramatic transformation to belong to Allah. You need a consistent return, a heart that keeps coming back after it wanders, a soul that keeps softening after it hardens, a believer who keeps choosing Him again, even when it feels heavy. Because every return is a declaration that says, I may stumble, but I know where I belong. I may forget, but I know who I serve. I may fall behind, but I know which direction is home. So tonight, do not promise yourself that you will never fail again. Promise yourself something stronger, that no matter how far you feel, you will always turn back. That no matter how lost you become, you will always look for Him. That no matter how quiet your faith feels, you will always listen for His call. Because in the end, your soul will not be asked how impressive your life looked to the world. It will be asked where it was headed. And if, through all the struggle, all the noise, all the silence, your direction was toward Allah, then even your smallest steps will be counted as a journey toward Jannah. And that is the kind of victory that does not fade. Not in this world, not in the next, but forever. Let me leave you with something gentle, not heavy. You are not defined by the battles you lost. You are defined by the battles you were still willing to fight. Every time you feel yourself drift and still turn back, something in the heavens moves for you. Not because you were perfect, but because you were honest. Do not measure your faith by how strong you feel tonight. Measure it by the fact that you are still here, still listening, still searching for a way back to Allah. That alone is a sign that your heart is alive. So when you walk away from this message, do not promise yourself a flawless life. Promise yourself a returning heart, a heart that comes back after it slips, a heart that softens after it hardens, a heart that remembers Allah even when the world becomes loud again. Because the war inside you does not end when this video ends, but neither does Allah's mercy. And no matter how far you feel, no matter how heavy the path becomes, no matter how many times you have to begin again, the door back to Him is still open. Always walk through it.